I was living in a very suburban area with hardly any nature, very manicured lawns.
Once upon a time I came here in 2010 to learn nonviolent communication as a raw Buddhist who really wanted to be in beautiful fruit-filled jungle environments. And after leaving here in May 2010, I lived in so many different places and I never found a place where I could live as naturally and as balanced and as thriving as I did when I was here.
Yeah, I was here like 5 days and I was like, I felt like this was it, you know? This was where I wanted to live. And twice I was supposed to catch a plane to leave, but then I just didn't.
I honestly have always been interested in permaculture, and I noticed that there's like a severe problem with where I was living before in New York, and kind of like an imbalance and like a constant unhappiness in a lot of my friends and family, and some problems with their health. And I guess the reason I'm here is to try to understand that misunderstanding.
Because I was tired of living in a world where everyone is isolated from each other, nobody has connection, nobody has support, everyone just lives in nuclear families, and it doesn't feel good to live like that. It feels good to live in a community.
I decided to come to the Big Island of Hawaii and be part of this community because I wanted to live with other people, sharing our lives together, living close to the earth, getting food from our land, healing together, having a family or tribe.
I heard a voice, literally, that said, take care of the earth, and you know, I don't know what that was exactly, but it had a really profound effect on me.
I want to live in a sustainable ecological system where we grow our own food, where I don't have to get in a car to eat or to feed my plants, that my needs are taken care of within walking distance, that I have a multi-generational community, a tribe, people who are working together, living together, raising children together, farming together, creating everything, art, whatever we do together.
What Gaia Yoga offers, which the Apache and the Aborigines and the Eskimos don't offer us, is how do we handle this new beast that's running the planet, that's so separated from nature, so separated from spirit, even though there's this pseudo connection to it, right? So fragmented internally, emotionally, psychically, spiritually, and yet so empowered materially, because basically what we have on the planet right now is toddlers with nuclear bombs.
So many things were starting to really bother me a lot about the way I was living and the lack of consciousness about things like resources and just even energetically I was getting bothered a lot by being around electricity, which might sound a little odd, but I found myself more and more sensitive.
In permaculture, we look at the design of things. If a design is a good design, it works. It's like cars. Cars, work well. That's why billions of people use them, right? They're well designed. There's some fatal flaws in them because they're powered off of unsustainable fuel source and they create pollution, but they work. And there's a design behind a car, they put this here and that there, and the alternator goes here and the tires go there, and whoa, voila, it goes down the road.
When life's working, there's not much to say. It's when life is not working that you have to have all these things. Because you got to figure out what's broken. You take your car to the mechanic. What's the number one thing you want your mechanic to be good at?
Fixing cars.
No, before that. Diagnostics.
Oh.
What's broken in the car? Okay, what's broken? But when you're driving your car, you don't think about that stuff, right? You're just like, woo, cruising, yeah, right? Okay? So we don't have words for when things are whole and working, okay? But we have brain specialists and skin specialists and eye specialists and heart specialists and respiratory specialists, right? Okay, so when life is working, we don't need words, okay? It's when life is not working that we need to be able to break apart the car, break apart the body, look at it in small systems and see not so much where the imbalance is, but where the break is, so that you can get the whole thing back in balance. Because like I said, all you need is to not have the key to your car and you can't drive it. One spark plug, one flat tire. It's like it doesn't take much to disable your vehicle, even though it's huge, right? So it doesn't take much to disable a person. One splinter, and you're done for, right? Until you get it out. All you have to do is have one stuck piece of grief in you, and you could be depressed for years. Okay, it takes very little to take you out of that sense of the silence of well-being.
Nonviolent communication, or NVC, can play a part in all of our communications. And even if we're not speaking in exactly that form, we are making observations instead of evaluations or judgments. We're expressing our feelings openly, transparently. We're getting to what we need. What are the true living energies of what's going on for us that are the source of all our feelings, and the behaviors and the influences on us from the outside, the triggers, they're not really the source of our feelings. They're just stimulus for us to have responses from our deep heart, what we live for, what we need in a certain sense, what makes life worthwhile for us. And then, based on all of this, we make requests to each other, not demands. Demands imply punishment or a should in there, and so a request is just asking for what would make life more wonderful.
I'm new to nonviolent communication, but I'm learning how to express myself without acting like I'm not an emotional being. If you think about any time you've ever talked to anybody in an angry way, and the impact that has on them, it doesn't fade away, or think about when someone's angry at you. You either fight back or you retreat.
The key to nonviolent communication is that it's owning our feelings. It's not blaming or judging. So often we're in judgment, whether in our mind or in our speech, and we don't even realize that it's a judgment, and it can create like defensiveness and arguing, and then you're stalemated. Whereas if you use the simple NVC format, observation and then own your feelings, and then look at the need behind the feelings, then you can make a request. And usually a person can hear that much easier.
So how we hear is a very powerful thing about what impacts our sense of peace and how we create peace in the world. So in NVC, we learn how to create social structures that are based on meeting people's needs and the fundamental equalness in everybody, in that we all have needs and we want to work together to meet them. And so instead of having power over systems, we have power with systems.
Only my eyes on a princess so divine, daughter of the mountain, so will you never let me go? Don't let me go. Hit me like a thunderstorm, yeah. Took me up and struck a chord, yeah. All I can see is oh my Lord. Side of you I can't afford, yeah. I don't know what song to sing. I don't know the proper hymn. All I know is I love.
This is a way, both sort of what do I want to say, educational, experiential. It's not really necessarily a beginner's thing, but it's a really good way to get integrated and introduced to instinctive eating. What we do is we put out all these different foods, and then people are going to be blindfolded, and they're going to smell the foods one at a time and rate the foods on a scale of 0 to 5 on the smell, and then they're going to eat the food that smells best. By being blindfolded and having somebody else handle the food, you only are taking in the information of the smell, which goes underneath all of our concepts and all sorts of other enculturation, and just helps us make a really clear biological animal decision about what our body needs best.
Instinctive eating is a set of practices where you can actually listen to your body, like through smell especially, and get the information from the food that communicates directly to your body. And the foods that smell the best, and using other senses as well, are the foods that are best for your body at that time. And then using the sense of the taste change to know when to stop eating that food and maybe to go on to a different food.
I've only been eating instinctively for 22 days, and it's completely revolutionary, really, because it's a detox and an enriching diet. Compared to my college diet, I would be eating a lot of carbs, a lot of, typical foods, and I was yawning in class. I couldn't stay awake. Just falling asleep was hard.
Out here, we get this possibility of really connecting with the foods in a deeper way. I walk toward my space where I stay and I smell the fruit getting ripe on the tree, and I know it's getting time to harvest it. And then we smell it in the cage to see, is it ready to eat enough yet? And then we smell it to see if we want it when it's ripe, and then we eat it until it changes in our mouth and it's not good anymore, and we learn to recognize, that's my body saying I don't need this anymore. And it's a lot easier than trying to figure out with our head what to eat, when we can just put our nose in the fruit cage and, mangoes, that's what I want. No, not really mangoes today. Papaya, that's what I want right now. Or avocados, or, wow, I think I just want salad or something right now. It's really interesting to watch the nose lead us, and leads us to a really healthful, natural life and strong, connected being.
In the time I've been here, I've gotten so much sense of my life and who I am, and how to communicate with people properly about what I want and how I'm actually feeling, and I feel like I've really come alive since I've been in Hawaii in a way that I didn't even know I could be before I came here.
Something about this island in Pele, it really cleanses. It's like the cleansing fire, so who you really are comes out. And sometimes that's scary, and sometimes it's painful, because we're not really used to that in kind of the traditional Western society. And so what we want to create here is the support for people to let go of that extra stuff that they don't need, whatever is not who they really are.
Here at Gaia Yoga Gardens, we are, as we say, off the grid. We don't have connections to any public utilities, really at all. We have a phone line, and we have an satellite internet connection, but we have, for our electricity, we have solar panels and batteries. For our water, we have rainwater catchment and filtration, and then pumps that pump it to faucets. And we don't have sewage or septic tanks. We use composting toilets. I really love the idea that the nutrients that my body doesn't need can be recycled into really fertile topsoil or humus. And it's actually a really key thing about sustainable horticulture or agriculture, food growing, to, if you don't do that and you just flush away the waste products, you're actually systematically taking fertility from the land. And so we are bringing the fertility back to the land, and we get a lot of benefit for our soils, for our fruit trees.
My labor will feed me and my children, and also feed the earth, feed other people with food, with culture, with spirit.
Yeah. Well, one thing I like to say, I ended this book that I just wrote, is that we're all learning to share. And I think that can't be underscored enough. That one of the biggest things, it's like, you know, I work with my son, he's learning to share. We're learning to share the world. We're learning to share the world with other species, other religions, you know, and to realize the value in that. And the value in making it be able to last, you know, to be sustainable. Because, you know, it's like, it's a gift that we're alive. And what we want to do is, as Marshall Rosenberg says, the only game in town is making life more wonderful for everyone.